Unlock your dream property with Meeks Realty Group, where Rich the Realtor makes real estate dreams a reality. Whether it's residential or commercial, we've got Charleston to Huntington covered. Your key to exceptional real estate experiences start here. Meeks Realty Group. Contact us at meeks.us.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 580 WCHS, its employees, or WVRC Media. From the studios of WVRC Media, the country, the United States of America, the state, West Virginia, the city, Charleston. This is the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live. And your host.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
He's kind of a big deal.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dave Allen.
Hey, folks, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to the show. Biggly, Piggly, Wiggly, hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor, text 304-935-5008. We do the show from the Par-Mar Store studio. If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon. The stations of WVRC Media and Par-Mar back with a great gas giveaway, giving away 500 gallons of free gasoline. Now, you can register at any Kanawha County Par-Mar location or at several locations throughout the valley, including A to Z Outlet at St. Albans, Trojan Landing, Marine of Charleston, Pearson Legal Services of Kanawha City, just to name a few. We're going to draw the winner July 27th during a special event at A to Z Outlet in St. Albans starting at 10 a.m. And the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you by Thornhill Auto Group, including Thornhill Ford Lincoln on the Thornhill Motor Mile, US 119 in Chapmanville. Drive home and a new 2024 Ford Escape with 2.9% APR for up to 72 months, plus a $1,000 trade assist rebate. Must qualify for all offers through Ford Financial. See Thornhill for all the details. Phone calls to the show with service of Biggly, Piggly, Wiggly on Spring Street, and texting service provided by West Virginia's finest men's store, Tony the Taylor, Virginia Street, downtown Charleston. Visit bestmastertailor.com. And this note from Tony: he will be closed for vacation starting July the 18th through the 27th, but he will be presenting the Tony the Taylor Summer Jam concert event on the 27th at the Red Carpet Pavilion in Charleston with guitar legend Gary Hoey and special guest the Amos Steel Company. And I'm going to be giving away VIP tickets for that next week. Biggly, Piggly, Wiggly, hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor, text 304-935-5008. Now, as you can imagine, today's show is going to be a little bit different, considering what took place Saturday evening in Butler, Pennsylvania. Let me take care of some housekeeping first. I told you on Friday that I would have Tim Brady from the Charleston Convention and Visitors Bureau scheduled to come on to talk about the success of the bike event that happened in Charleston in May. The dollars and cents report that came out of that was simply great for the city of Charleston and for the entire Kanawha Valley. I talked to Tim about it yesterday, and we kind of came to the collective decision that it may be best to postpone his appearance on the show today. So instead, Tim's going to be on the show on Thursday. I did have Tony Hodge, who is with the State Republican Party, scheduled for the show today as well. I'm going to keep that appointment with him. He's going to join us a little bit later on in the show. But I wanted to take the time this morning to talk about the attempt on the life of former president and Republican nominee, again, for the presidency, Donald Trump, Saturday evening in Pennsylvania. Now, this may very well become one of those let me back up a little bit before I get into my thing. I want to say this. I am more I'm going to give some of my thoughts, but on the show today, at least for the first couple of segments, I am more interested in your thoughts. So if you'd like to call me, you can do that. Ryan standing by, and the hotline number from Biggly, Piggly, Wiggly, 304-345-5858, or you can text, courtesy of Tony the Taylor, 304-935-5008. And that's what I want to keep the focus on today. Again, I'm gonna give my thoughts, but I'm more interested in what you have to think. All right, what you have to say. But this may very well become one of those where were you type moments in American history. I could tell you, I was at my house with my wife Saturday evening, sitting down, getting ready to have dinner. we eat dinner at 6 o'clock in my house because, we're old. So I'm getting ready to, chow down on some grilled salmon. Had the TV on one of the local newscasts, just kind of in the background, and a friend called me and asked me if I was watching the national news. And I told him that I was not, and I quickly flipped over, and much like many of you, was horrified by what I saw. And at this particular time, I mean, this was literally, when I saw it, they didn't know whether he was actually shot or not. They didn't know, because, I mean, literally, this was just as it had happened. But I was horrified, as I'm sure many of you were as well. As I said, there was still some question at that particular time as to whether it was a shooting or some sort of fireworks or whatever. We later learned, of course, that it was indeed shots fired at the former president. And since then, it has been nonstop coverage from all of the major news channels, CNN, Fox, NBC, the networks, MSNBC, online, of course, too. And I thought long and hard about how to address this, this morning. It has been over 40 years since we had an attempt on the life of a president or former president. I'm not old enough to remember the chaos of the 60s with the assassinations of JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and others. But I am old enough to remember the March day in 1981 when John Hinckley Jr. attempted to kill President Reagan. I also remember when John Lennon was killed and when the Pope was shot, and, of course, 9/11. But it's been a while since something like that happened here. So I guess the question this morning is, how did we get to this place? Now, there's a lot of unknowns because, of course, the shooter was killed. We have his identity. We know that it was a gun that was apparently purchased legally from the kid's father, but we don't really know a whole lot. But how did we get to a place where we are seemingly so consumed with the destruction of people or ideals that we see as differently than us? Now, as I said about the shooter, we know this. He was a registered Republican, but had donated to Democratic causes. He appeared to be a bit of a loner. People who went to high school with him described him as being someone who had little, if any, friends, and one who kind of stood out because of that. So is that what led him to try to assassinate a former president and the presumptive Republican nominee this year? And when you talk about Donald Trump, it's a guy who, despite all of his issues, in my opinion, was well on his way to becoming the next president of the United States. And by the way, what happened on Saturday in Butler, in my opinion, put the exclamation point on that. Donald Trump will now for sure be the next president of the United States of America. But I think this goes well beyond that, because who is responsible for what happened Saturday evening in Butler, Pennsylvania? Again, there are so many questions unanswered. I mean, was this a political extremist? As I said, a registered Republican, but who had donated to Democratic causes. So we don't really know. Or, if you recall, John Hinckley Jr., who attempted to assassinate President Reagan in 1981, did it to impress Jodie Foster. Mark David Chapman, the person that killed John Lennon in December of 1980, was mad because he felt John and Yoko broke up the Beatles. So not everything has a political bent to it, and all of this, as best will come out at some point when the investigations continue. But as for Saturday evening, who ultimately is responsible? And I'm going to say that we are. We have allowed ourselves to be spoon-fed, in many cases, erroneous information that the other side is the enemy, using language like libtards, Trump-tards, deplorables, etc. We blame the media. I mean, that was a common cry Saturday night. NBC reported that one man flipped off an NBC reporter and said to this lady, "You caused this." The media. We blame social media. I blame social media. Social media is somewhat responsible, but someone has to write the crap that dominates X, formerly Twitter, and Facebook. Unless it's bots, which is a whole other issue for a whole other time. The problem here, my opinion, more interested in yours, which I'll get to. The problem here is Mr. and Mrs. America and Mr. and Mrs. WCHS listener. The problem is us. We allowed ourselves to get sucked in to a cesspool of lies, hate, and misinformation. We sometimes blindly follow and buy into the lies that we see posted daily online. We don't want the news. We want so-called facts that back up our preconceived notions. So what happened to us? We used to be able to agree to disagree, but at the very least, listen to what the other side says. I mean, I get downright vile messages directed toward me when I have someone like State Democratic Party Chair and Delegate Mike Pushkin on the show. I get the same when I have Greg Thomas on the show. When I've had Don Blankenship on the show, you would think I was having Satan himself on the show because I dare to give up a time slot, or to use the current terminology, to platform him. Folks, we gotta figure this out, because listen up. Either Donald Trump or Joe Biden, and it looks like Biden is staying in, one of those two is going to be the next president of the United States of America. And you may not want to admit it, but they are going to be your president. Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden, all of them were my presidents, whether I agreed with them or not. And at the end of the day, Republican, Democrat, or Independent, or whatever your party is, you are an American. And we have the privilege of living in the greatest country on God's green earth. The fact that we can even have these discussions should tell you that. The fact that I get to sit in this chair Monday through Friday and even have these discussions, and sometimes a little fun too, should let you know that. And I have been very clear by saying almost daily on this show that, in my opinion, neither Joe Biden or Donald Trump are fit to be president. But as my late granny used to say, you can want in one hand and you know what in the other, and see which one gets filled up first. One of those two will be the next president. And we got to live with it. And for God's sakes, just stop. Stop with all the hate. Republicans, listen to me. Joe Biden, AOC, Kamala Harris aren't your enemies. Democrats, Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, they aren't your enemies. Your enemy is you. It's you buying into everything that you read online. It's letting Fox News, a news outlet who admitted in court they are not legitimate news, to form your opinions. It's believing the same out of CNN, MSNBC, Newsmax, someone who's got any real relevance, but they got a Twitter account. Tell you what to think. If we are going to continue as a functional republic, we have to do better. I'm pro-choice. You're pro-life. You aren't my enemy. You are my fellow Americans. We just have a difference of opinion. We got to do better. And we got to stop hating people that may think differently than us. That's where I am on this. And again, a whole lot of questions. And by the fact that the shooter is deceased, which I completely understand why they shot him. There's a lot of questions are going to be left unanswered because of that. And again, I'm not saying he shouldn't have been shot. He obviously should have. And then there's the whole response and how was he allowed to get up there to begin with, and all that's going to be discussed and digested by people that are way smarter than I am. But it doesn't help, and I'm going to kind of retract something I said when I said it's on us. It doesn't help when we use language saying that if Trump or Biden, if either one is elected, that it's the end of democracy as we know it. And Joe Biden's guilty of saying that. Donald Trump is guilty of saying that. I don't know that Ronald Reagan would have said that. I don't know that LBJ or John Kennedy would have made statements like that. But they're just feeding into the mood of the country. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a break. I got a bunch of texts to get to. If you want to call, you're more than welcome to. Tony Hodge from the State Republican Party, who was already scheduled to be here, is going to be here a little bit later on in the show. But call me. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you part by your hometown baseball team, the Charleston Dirty Birds. Birds are off tonight before beginning a 3-game road series in Lexington. They are back at Gomart Ballpark Friday night to begin a weekend series against Gastonia. For tickets, promotion schedules, Dirty Birds gear, and more, visit dirtybirdsbaseball.com. We're going to take a break. Coming back right after this, and a little bit later on, Tony Hodge will join us. This is the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses have been creating jobs in West Virginia since 1997.
Red, white, and vroom! Gear up for incredible savings at Thornhill Ford Lincoln on the Thornhill Motor Mile. Hey, it's Sydney, and right now at Thornhill, you can drive home a new 2024 Ford Escape with 2.9% APR for up to 72 months. Plus a $1,000 trade assist rebate. Shop online anytime at thornhillford.net or visit us on US 119 in Chapmanville. Discover why Thornhill Ford Lincoln is your ultimate destination for unbeatable deals and exceptional service on the road to total savings. This qualify for all offers through Ford Financial. See Thornhill for all details.
Welcome to Poca Valley, where we've been in business since 1908. Today, we serve Roane, Kanawha, Putnam, and surrounding counties. We believe you deserve banking that provides friendly customer service. For all of your financial needs, stop by one of our 8 convenient locations. Call us at 844-782-2651 or visit us online at PocaValleyBank.com. Poca Valley, where relationships matter.
Member FDIC.
Are you changing jobs or gearing up for retirement? Don't navigate your financial journey alone. At 4th Avenue Financial, we specialize in guiding individuals through life's transitions. From optimizing your retirement savings to managing your investments, we're here to provide expert advice every step of the way. Schedule your free consultation with John Burdett and take control of your financial future today. 4thavenuefinancial.com.
Securities offered through Jenny B. Cole Financial Incorporated. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Jenny B. Cole Advisors Incorporated.
927, the Dave Allen Show and 580 Live, brought to you part by Brightway Insurance, the Mays Agency. They now offer small business insurance to the 4 major carriers, the Hartford, Travelers, Progressive, and Next. Call or stop by and see John and Sherry Mays today, 3860 Tays Valley Road, Suite 1 in Hurricane, or call them at 304-814-2509 or visit brightwaymays.com. Ryan Nicholson is our producer today. Bigly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. Let me knock out some text, and then we're going to get to Tony Hodge a little bit later on. Text said, just wanted to let you know, while a donation to a progressive cause was made by a Thomas Crooks, it was not the same Thomas Matthew Crooks that shot Trump. The Thomas Crooks that made the donation is in his late 60s and is from Pittsburgh. That's not the first time that I have heard that. I kind of went with the original because wasn't really sure, but this is starting to come light that it may not have been the same person. I have another text that says there's stories out that the liberal cause donor was another person with the same name as the shooter. Text says the assassination attempt left us in the same place we were with the candidates. One is rapidly losing his mental faculties, and the other tried to formulate a coup. Courts the Christian right, who wants to establish Christianity as a state religion and has a long and personal connection with Jeffrey Epstein. Bottom line, the situation hasn't changed. Text says 20-year-olds aren't that complex. He was bullied. He was a loner, and he grabbed his dad's AR. That is, sadly, nothing new in this country since Columbine 25 years ago. This happens every day in our country. This has very little to do with politics and everything to do with guns. You can't have a shooting without a gun, says a texter. Texter says, and people will say I politicize it. Well, just following J.D. Vance, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Scalia's lead, says a texter. The text is good point. I've noticed verbal attacks and name-calling directed at me when I try to state facts and rationale on various sites. Seems when someone doesn't agree, they revert to name-calling and attempt to run you out. Granted, my alignment means liberals attack me, but it's possible. Could be the same on both extremes, says a texter. Text says, great opening. Well-reasoned and articulated. Thank you very much. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by Pinnacle Consultants. Poor indoor air quality can cause a variety of health issues, allergies, respiratory problems, and more. Pinnacle Consultants offer specialized indoor air quality services for residential, commercial, and industrial settings. Visit pinnaclecorp.net because what you don't know can hurt you. Bigly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. Okay, there's a lot to this text. I'm going to hold off on that one to a little bit later on because it's really not germane to what we're talking about here. Text says, Dave, the Booth Oswald wannabe donated to Act Blue, an extreme left dark money donation machine, but is a Republican, ? He was a radical leftist who only registered as Republican to mess with the the Pennsylvania GOP primaries. According to reports, he only voted in the 2022 primary. He says, again, I'm not sure of that. Dave, says the texter, sorry, but with calls like these in this video, can't access that. And one of these people being called out, denounced, or told to tone down the words. Not one more person should lecture anyone else about Trump's dangerous rhetoric ever again. Text says, we warned you all about the lies, disinformation, and conspiracy nonsense. Yet we were told we were trying to cancel you. There is only one thing that traffics in fear and hate, and you know it. Trump is a threat to democracy. Have Tony Hodge explain how ending the peaceful transfer of power, encouraging an attack on the Capitol, and then ratifying it after the fact by calling January 6 criminals political prisoners and hostages that are very special isn't a threat to democracy, says a texter. Well, Tony's here, and I'll talk to Tony in a couple of moments. A couple of things I want to get to just real quick, and then we'll get back to the subject. The governor is set to speak to West Virginians this morning around 11 o'clock about the Trump assassination attempt. The governor is in Milwaukee at the Republican National Convention along with Baby Dog, and he is expected to address the RNC. We, of course, will be monitoring the governor's remarks during Talkline today, and depending on the timing, we'll bring you the remarks possibly during Hoppy. It all kind of depends on whether or not, the governor is on time. You know how that goes. Either way, we'll be covering it on the air at WVMetronews.com and all of our social media platforms. Something else we were watching, and totally unrelated to the Trump situation, but it bears watching and talking about, is Charleston City Council tonight. We have a story posted at WCHSnetwork.com. The petition to the city that is trying to change the penalties for first-time offenders when it comes to cannabis use. Could be interesting to see how this plays out tonight. The committee starts at 5:30, and the full council meeting this night at 7. Now, the public is invited to attend and can sign up to be heard as part of the public comment period, as part of the council meeting. I'll have a full review, of course, of the happenings tonight at City Council on tomorrow's show. Let's see. Texas, over the weekend, national media interviewed former classmates of Thomas Crooks. In addition to saying he was a loner, they said he was consistently and vocally conservative, says a texter. Okay, I'm not going to read that. I also wanted to remind you that State Senator and Senate Finance Chair Eric Tarr will make a return appearance on the show tomorrow. I had the senator on last week explaining his stance on the budget surplus, the governor's proposed tax cuts, et cetera, et cetera. After the show, there were several texts of the show, and the senator was listening. And as he was leaving, and he got in touch with me and said, hey, I'd like to come back. I'd like to come back on your show to address the listeners. So if you were one of the ones that texted the show with comments or questions for Senator Tarr, he is willing to talk to you. One thing I have always said about Senator Tarr is you may not like the guy, you may not like his policies, but he is always, always willing to come on this show and take phone calls and text. And that's what we want tomorrow. He's going to be on the show. Open lines for at least 2 segments tomorrow with Senator Tarr. So, again, if you were one of the ones that had questions or texted after he left, he's on for a big part of the show tomorrow. And he would love to take your phone calls. If you got questions, the Tar man, Senator Tarr, will be on the show tomorrow. So you got plenty of time to go ahead and get those ready. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you in part by Husson's Pizza. This month, at your favorite Husson's, order any regularly priced large 18-inch pizza and get a 2-liter Pepsi at no additional charge. Text says, Dave, please ask Tony Hodge. You're a popular guy, Anthony. Oh, that's right. You're not Anthony. You're just Tony, right? Please ask Tony how those who want to establish Christianity as a state religion are not enemies of the Constitution. All right? He's taking notes. He's to my left right now, and we'll answer that coming up a little bit later on. Text says, ironically, the man who endorsed political gun violence, I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and wouldn't lose any voters, got shot. So it's okay for him to promote violence, but if he's the recipient, it is a big deal. Text says, wanting someone politically dead is only wanting their politics or position defeated is very different from wanting or acting on killing the opponent. Very good point. Text says, if Trump is responsible for January 6th, then this attempt on President Trump's life on years of evil, hate-filled rhetoric by nasty pieces of blank like Biden, De Niro, Waters, Schiff, Madonna, Streisand, Reiner, Bashir, O'Donnell, Oberman, et cetera, are responsible for July 13th. Text says, Dave, the right tried to blame everyone from veterans. Antiva was the shooter. Okay. All right. So, Tony Hodge is here. How you doing, man?
Good morning. How are you?
Let me just say that I had Tony scheduled to be on the show, like a week or two ago. I think you reached out to me. We were just talking, and you said that you had an availability to come in, and so you made the cut. Tim Brady did not.
Well, when we spoke last week, everything that was going on last week revolved around the debate performance. Big Boy Day in America, there was a joke about that with Joe Biden's press conference. And so that's what I had in my mind when I was thinking about coming on today. We're just going to talk politics. But, in the course of human events, you never know when tragedy is going to strike. So, I was talking to my wife last night and just, you're kind of unprepared for things like this when they pop up. But let me tell you a quick story. So it was less than a month ago. I was at the Road to Majority Conference in Washington, D.C., and that conference takes place at the Washington Hilton. And if you don't know, the Washington Hilton is where President Ronald Reagan was shot in 1981. And right at the exact place where he was shot, there's a plaque on the wall. It's a bronze plaque, and it tells the story of what happened. And of course, you can go on YouTube and you can watch that the whole event as it occurred on YouTube. And you can see on YouTube in 1981, and the way it looks in that location right now, it's pretty much identical. Nothing has changed. Everything looks exactly the same. So when you're standing there, which I've done for the last 2 years, it's a surreal moment. You just have to stand there, read the plaque, and kind of reflect like, wow, this really happened. And the thing that's interesting for me is I'm a little younger than you, so that event that event with Reagan was actually before I was even born. And so I'm standing there.
Tony, did you really need to go there?
So I'm standing there. I'm standing there thinking about this, and I'm thinking, wow, nothing like that's ever happened in my lifetime. Of course, you hope that nothing like that ever does happen in your lifetime. And then here we are on Saturday. I took my family. I live in Putnam County. I took them over to Eleanor Park, and we were just having a little family time over there. We had a small picnic, and after the picnic, the kids were playing on the playground, and my wife and I were walking around the playground and on the sidewalk there. And all of a sudden, my son ran over to me and said that his phone went off, and that Trump had been shot. So, of course, immediately our family time came to an end, and we got our phones out. Oh my goodness, just tragic news to come at us like that. But I want to go real quick to one thing that one of your texters said, and I can't repeat it verbatim of what the person. It was the one about state religion.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, because this is going to take a while.
Okay.
So I'll read the text when we come back from the break, because I want to give you adequate time.
Sure.
And again, Tony is willing to take phone calls. Are you not?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to call him, you're more than welcome to. I do have a couple texts waiting on him. So to give him adequate time, we'll go ahead and take the break. You can get in with us, Biggly Piggly Wiggly, hotline 304-345-5858, and the text line from Tony the Tailor, 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Jute. For the best in security systems for both your home or business, talk to Jute, J-O-O-T of Tays Valley. Visit protectedbyjute.com. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses are small businesses with big impact, including Generations Physical Therapy and Snap Fitness.
Your Putnam County Assessor's Office is mandated to ensure your real estate is evaluated properly and fairly. This year, their field personnel will be in the Tays Valley, Curry, and Hurricane districts to revisit homeowners. Plus, new construction in the county will be assessed. They will be in marked vehicles and will have photo ID and business cards. If you have any questions about this process, visit their website at putnamcoassessor.com. That's putnamcoassessor.com.
Save big on leftover 50/50 deals and last chance WV bargain scores. Get gift certificates to IHOP, Scary Creek Paintball, Blanche's Family Diner, and more. Plus, you can save 60% on vouchers to Pew Furniture Warehouse Showrooms, Spring Hill Rod and Gun, and Nitro Fireworks. Don't miss these huge savings while they last. Just head to WCHSnetwork.com and click the 50/50 Friday button to get gift certificates for these businesses and more at 50 to 60% off, courtesy of the WCHS family of networks.
Summer congestion got you down. Whether it's allergies or a summer cold, being congested can ruin your whole day. You feel tired and run down, like you're missing out on summer fun. At Navage, we're here to make breathing easy easier. Navage uses patented gentle suction technology to help clear out allergens, dust, and mucus without drugs. In just 30 seconds, you'll be on your way to a better day. Get Navage at Walmart, Walgreens, Sam's Club, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, or online at Navage.com. Navage. Breathe better, fast.
It is 19 minutes away from 10. Ryan Nicholson is our producer today. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Tailor text 304-935-5008. In the heart of West Virginia, there exists a profound force that goes beyond the realm of sports, transcending limitations and fostering a sense of belonging. It's Special Olympics, a remarkable initiative showcased in the latest episode of West Virginia Enriched in collaboration with Huntington, stands as a testament to the power of determination, unity, and unwavering support. See a video highlighting the Special Olympics at facebook.com/580WCHS. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Tailor text 304-935-5008. Tony Hodge of the State Republican Party is here. Tony, thank you for for joining us this morning. I did want to address a text that we had earlier, but I want to give you plenty of time to do it. It said, I'll repeat, please ask Tony Hodge how those who want to establish Christianity as the state religion are not enemies of the Constitution.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting text. So I don't necessarily know anyone who wants to establish Christianity as the state religion. But I will go all the way back to our founding, and John Adams was one of our most famous founding fathers, and he helped with our Declaration. He helped with our Constitution, and he has an interesting quote, and it says this. He says, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people." And I think there's a lot of power in those words. And he didn't say Christianity or anything like that, although I believe Christianity is the way that we should go. But, when we see things like this come up, I heard your monologue at the beginning of the show. I don't watch a lot of TV news, although I did on Saturday. It's been 4 years since I've watched national television news, but I turned it on Saturday. I've heard a lot of talking heads. I've heard a lot of opinions. And a lot of them are valid. There's opinions coming from all directions, and they're all valid. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's the opinion of this guy talking in this mic right now that what we have here is a profound spiritual problem. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody in this country wants to talk about the politics and, the separation of church and state. We've gotten so far down this hole that we can't even bring up spiritual matters on the radio, on the TV, in the public square anymore. This is the really sad part about our country. And I want to tell you this. The Bible says, I have it right here, Ephesians 6:12, it says, "We are not fighting against flesh and blood, but against the rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in the dark world, and against evil spirits in heavenly places." Everybody wants to pit Democrats versus Republicans, this group versus that group, this generation versus that generation. What we have is a spiritual problem, and it's a dire problem, and we have to turn back to what John Adams said, a moral and religious people. We have to be those people again. It's a,
Calm down.
I get
Calm down, buddy.
I get really wound up. But Jesus said, "In this world there will be many trials and sorrows, but take heart, I have overcome the world." We have someone to turn to, and his name is Jesus Christ. And in times like this, we need to turn to him. We need to pray. We need, 2 Chronicles chapter 7 says, "If my people who are called by my name will turn from their evil ways and repent of their sins and look toward me, I will save their land." Now, the Lord was talking to the Hebrews back in that time, but that's a principle that we can follow today. I mean, if we repent of our ways and turn from our evil ways and look toward a higher being, a higher calling, he will forgive us. And that goes for any country. It's not just America. That's any country. If any country turns to the Lord, I believe the Lord's hand will be upon them. What we have here is a major, major, major spiritual problem. We have to turn this country back to God. And I get sick and tired of all the, we've gotten so far to a point where, like I said earlier, we can't even speak about Christian. I can't bring up anything about Christianity or anything about religion because, that might offend somebody or whatever. What we have now, we've actually turned away from the Christian moral standard in this country into what I like to call the state morality. And what that is it's a morality that really is not based on any higher standard. It's just based on whatever the political ruling class want to say and the corporate world wants to say. And if you don't toe a certain line in the corporate world these days, you could end up losing your job. You could be taken down. If you don't follow, all the prescriptions that they put out there on all these social issues, if you don't follow that now, you will be taken down politically, in your career, all sorts of ways. It's wrong. I'm here to tell you, we have got to turn off this garbage up here on this TV. We need to get down on our knees. We need to get our Bible out, and we need to start praying to the Lord that he will heal our land and heal our hearts. Our hearts need healed. Our moral compass needs refocused.
I don't disagree, but I hate to say, let me play devil's advocate here. Can we return to morality without religion, in your opinion? Simply because I'm not being argumentative with you. I identify as a Christian, okay? But there will be those that will say, when you talk about turning to God, they'll say, which God? when we talk about putting the Ten Commandments in the classrooms it's all well and good until it becomes we want the Quran in there, or some other religion that's may not meet. And fewer people. America's catching up, good or bad, with the rest of the world in basically becoming non-religious. That's kind of where we're headed. So.
Oh, we're not headed there. We are there.
Well, but I mean, the numbers are more and more every year people who don't identify with a religion or whatever.
We're there.
I guess my original question, though, before we get even more off track, because that's my fault.
No, it's okay.
That's the way I am. Is can we return to this moral compass that you're talking about without religion?
No,
not saying we should, but can we?
Well, I'm a Christian. I follow the Lord Jesus Christ. It's in my opinion that I want to follow the God of love. And that's the Lord Jesus. It's what the Holy Bible talks about. That's the God that I follow and the God that I will advocate for and defend. Let me tell you this. So I'll tie this back into politics because since we're...
And then we got to get to some text here.
Okay,
so.
Just real quick. So there's this book. It's called Life in the Negative World. It's by Aaron Wrenn. It's a really interesting book. This guy, he's an actual a business intellectual. But anyway, he talks about how we had the positive world of Christianity, the neutral world, and now we're in the negative world. So back in the 1950s and prior, it was just normal for Christianity to be, you had to be a Christian to run for office. You had to be, everybody was Christian. Let's just shorten it down and just say, generally speaking.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah, everybody that you knew in your community, you went to church or whatever. And then in roughly the mid-1960s, from the 60s to the 90s, he says things start to go on a downward slide. And he said, but that's still the positive world. And then in the mid-90s up to about 2014, he said that was the neutral world where Christianity is not really seen it as a positive and it's not really seen it as a negative. And then he said there was a huge shift in 2014, the second term of Barack Obama, up until today, where Christianity now is actually seen as a negative, which is kind of what I'm getting at here. It's seen as a negative. We don't want to talk about it. We run from it. We just don't want to bring it up. And he gives 3 examples in these different eras to talk about the positive world, the neutral world, and the negative world. In the positive world, 1987, Gary Hart ran for the Democratic nomination for president. He was the shoo-in. He had it. I mean, he had the nomination. Then news broke that he had an apparent affair on his wife. And the Democratic Party, he was going to be the Democratic nominee. The Democratic Party said, hey, you know what? This is outrageous. We're not going to put up with this. There's no way that we're going to allow this man to be our nominee. And they threw him out, and they got Michael Dukakis in there, and they ended up losing the election. Okay, that was in the positive world. That's when people saw Christianity as a positive. Now move to the neutral world from the mid-'90s up until the 2014. One example the book gives in there is you had President Clinton. He had a White House affair with a very young intern. Now he had to weather a storm. He got impeached. They threw things at him, but he weathered it and he got through it. They didn't throw him out. He got through it. That was the neutral world. And now when we live in the negative world, where our society sees Christianity as a negative, now people all over the country, running for offices all over the place, your moral character and what defines you morally, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Left, right, it doesn't matter.
I'll give you a good example of that, Donald Trump.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what side you're on. In the negative world where Christianity is now seen as a negative and we have enemies of Christianity, moral character doesn't matter. And it only stands to reason. And what's funny to me is when I hear people come on your show, Democrat Party leaders, they'll come on your show and just like you said, they'll bring up Donald Trump, and they'll say his moral character and they'll throw all this out there. Well, of course, I advocate for people with moral character, but it's real rich to me that they would come on here and say that because to me it's very hypocritical because for years and years and years, and I'm talking decades, the left has promoted immorality. Look at the Hollywood and the media and the things that are shoved down our throats all the time with debauchery and nudity and filth and all this stuff. They cram all this stuff down our throat, and then when leaders turn out to have this kind of character, all of a sudden they cry foul. I think they're hypocrites. But I will say there's hypocrites on both sides,
all right,
to be fair.
All right, we got to take a break. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you part by Bridge Valley. If you're interested in improving your company's IT workforce, you're going to know Bridge Valley offers custom-tailored IT training to bridge the skills gap at Bridge Valley. Train for little or no cost with a 50-50 salary match. They can also supply skilled graduates and apprenticeships for your company. Visit bridgevalley.edu/apprenticeships today. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Are you a physical therapy assistant and looking for an opportunity in orthopedics, wellness, and athletic care? If so, Generations Physical Therapy is offering flexible work hours and an upbeat atmosphere. With 7 convenient locations, Generations may have a job designed for you. Visit generationspt.com.
Wow, it feels like summer just started, but time sure is flying by, and before you know it, school will be back in session. This school year, Members Choice West Virginia can help you check off everything on your school shopping list with a back-to-school loan. Now through August 31st, you can get all the school supplies you need with a back-to-school loan of up to $1,500 with rates as low as 7.99% and up to 12 months to pay back. Apply today at 201 Ohio Avenue in Charleston or visit MCWV online at memberschoicewv.com. Loans are subject to credit approval. Additional restrictions may apply.
If you use tobacco, chances are you've thought about quitting. And all of us at the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network think that is truly awesome. Quitting is tough. It requires commitment and support. But first, it requires thinking of quitting. You've taken the first step on your own. The West Virginia Tobacco Quit Line can help you take the next one. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW or visit wvtobaccoquitline.com for practical tips to give up tobacco for good. Quitting is tough, but West Virginians are tougher. You've got this.
Did you know that most homes and businesses in West Virginia have some sort of foundation settlement problem? If you're experiencing a settling foundation or sunken concrete slab, call the professionals at Marco Concrete Lifting. With the most advanced solutions and engineered equipment, your structural stability is their top priority. Marco Concrete Lifting can provide a structural engineer referral upon request. Protect your biggest investment, your home. Call Marco Concrete Lifting today at 722-LIFT. That's 722-LIFT.
Looking to buy or sell U.S. coins or currency, or need an appraisal on a coin collection? The Coin Man in St. Albans has been established since 2009, and he's the area's expert in currency. Whether you're buying or selling coins and coin accessories, he's got you covered. But that's not all. He also deals in select antiques and glassware. Visit the Coin Man today at 2412 Kanawha Terrace in St. Albans and discover treasures that transcend time. The Coin Man, where every coin tells a story.
6 minutes away from 10, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by Live Healthy West Virginia, presented by WVU Medicine. Live Healthy tackles a myriad of health issues. It's a podcast offering insights into medical breakthroughs and preventative care, featuring WVU Medicine's expert physicians, aimed at fostering healthier lifestyles and beyond West Virginia. It's a valuable resource for all. Discover the latest episodes on WVMetroNews.com, under the podcast menu, and start your journey towards better health today. Tony Hodge is here. Text says, Dave, I agree that America is at a crossroads. Our discourse is horrendous, and both Republicans and Democrats need to tone it down. I still believe we are almost forced to choose between two candidates that are not the best ones we could offer. While people will disagree with me, I could never vote for Donald Trump for anything, says a texter. Texter said, you asked the question that cannot be answered with one sentence. This has been and still is the most horrible social experiment of all times, testing the moral compass of human beings. You can stop reading here if you want. Well, I'm going to have to because it's too long. Sorry. Text says, Dave, tell Tony it's as simple. Today, you're not allowed to mention God unless you give him a last name, and we know what that is, as in D. Text says, Dear Tony, mirroring our founding fathers' religious values sounds nice, and if you all want to, if you want to leave out the part about most of them actually being criminals, but whatever makes you feel better. Text says, most of those who denounce God and Christianity do not want to be held accountable to anyone or any deity for their behaviors, their words, their actions, so they deny he exists and attempts to justify their behaviors. Text says, go on YouTube and watch the frightening chaos of 9/11 after the towers fell. You hear a lot of calls for help from God and his son, Jesus Christ. Have Tony Hodge explain how ending the peaceful transfer of power, encouraging an attack on the Capitol, and then ratifying it after the fact by calling January 6 criminals, political prisoners, and hostages that are very special isn't a threat to democracy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. I condemn the events that happened at the Capitol. I guess it's referring to on January 6th. I mean, I'm not a fan of that at all and never have advocated for it. But back to what I was saying earlier, what we need to do is this country needs a great awakening. We had 3 or 4 Great Awakenings over the course of our country. And what's happened over the last several years is we have been fully immersed, baptized into what I call the Great Awakening. We've been so obsessed with...
See what you did there.
Yeah, I mean...
Awakening.
Yeah, we've been so obsessed with all this woke foolishness that we've lost our moral compass. We've lost... even if we try... If we try to say we're doing moral things, we have no standard by which to call our actions moral or immoral if we don't have a higher standard other than us to compare it to. And so that's the thing, is we're so wrapped up in the Great Awakening, and what we really need is a Great Awakening. And I'm ready for it.
The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Tony says the text, black folks and women weren't allowed to vote, let alone considered full humans 250 years ago. Many still are treated that way. What part of Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof do you not understand?
Well, the truth of the matter is that it's the Christian religion that actually fought to bring it laid the groundwork and the foundation for the arguments against slavery, for the arguments against the suppression of women, for the arguments against all of our, during the civil rights time. If you look at what Martin Luther King Jr., when he would get up and speak, his letters from a Birmingham jail, it was addressed to clergy. That letter was addressed to the clergy. Every argument that he used in the civil rights era back in the 1950s and 60s was based on the Christian standard, the Christian morality. If it wasn't for Christianity, slavery could still be going on in this country. Women could still be suppressed. There could still be segregation. I mean, we may not even have hospitals. Christians created the first hospitals several centuries ago. There's so much. It's like the Christian worldview, what we see with what Christianity breathes. It's almost like the air we breathe. It's like you don't know. It's like a fish. The fish doesn't know he's in water until he's out of it. We don't know that a lot of the good things around us are actually part of the Christian worldview because it's the air we breathe. One day, you're going to say, boy, I wish I hadn't taken that for granted.
The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, presented in part by General Hardware of Winfield and Milton, General Lumber of Winfield. For all projects big and small, shop locally. Visit generalhardwarewv.com. All right, so I'm going to give you 30 seconds here. Let's get off the religion thing for a moment. Let's get back to what we saw. How do we get political discourse back as part of the mainstream again? Now you got 20 seconds, so go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, you said get off the religious thing. I'm sorry, Dave. It's who I am.
No, it's fine.
It's who I am, and the answer is, you asked a question. Okay. My answer is, we have to turn our hearts back to God. We have to show love toward one another and not hate, even people that we disagree with. I disagree with people all the time. I disagree with you on several things. We have several disagreements, and you're one of my best friends. We have to show love to one another. We have to turn back to God. We have to set that standard higher. Like I said earlier, Jesus said, in this world there will be trials and sorrows, but take heart, I have overcome the world. One more thing I want to say before we get off the air. Yep. The guy that passed away, he passed away protecting his wife and daughter. God bless him. Jesus said, no greater love hath a man than those who lay down a life for his friends. And that's what that man did. That was true love right there. He's commended.
All right, we got to go. Also, understand from a programming note, we are going to be carrying the Republican National Convention on WCHS Radio all week. All right, got to go. Tony, thank you so much.
Yes,
Hobby
sir.
Coming up at 10:06. I will see you tomorrow. Till then, have fun and love somebody. Steal my lines.
WCHS AM, 96.5 FM Charleston, and 104.5 Cross Lanes, a WVRC media station. We're proud to live here, too.